space of entrepreneurship, we normally come across two kinds of categories of entrepreneurs. One is something like a butterfly, which looks into what the best of the best flowers are, and then takes the nectars out of it. But largely it is based on the intent to have self-consumption. Now the other part is of the bee, which looks at the best of the best flowers, picks up the nectar, and then creates a repository of these things and builds a hive there, and then 80% of that hive is consumed by the ecosystem. And at the same time, while this work is going on, there's a very important part it plays in where the pollination happens, and that's how we keep seeing forests coming up everywhere. Now, why I'm giving this example is that the society today has moved from a convergent thinking process where we say one problem, one solution, to a divergent thinking kind of a mindset where we're talking about one problem and innumerable solutions. So just to give an example, how thinking differently can enable people. I was just moving out of Bangalore and on my regular trip to various sites of engagements, and then I just had a stop by at a tea stall at a rural location, and I heard these conversations which was going between two individuals. One was talking about how he used to make footwears and how he used to make a good money, selling them during the rural farmers gathering or the village gathering once in 15 days. And he used to do good. For the last 2.5 decades, he's been making a lot of money through this. But then nowadays, branded footwears like Litkar reaching out as their retail outlets, even to the most remotest places, is causing people to change, because today people have affordability, and when they buy in pairs, and they don't go back to get it repaired when something gets torn, and they just discard it. So therefore, this guy, he's been a cobbler all his life, and today he is jobless and losing confidence about himself. And then the other guy, who was listening to this conversation also joined in, and he said, look, I've been going through the same journey myself. Last 20 years, people used to come searching for me whenever there used to be some kind of a problem with their vehicle or there was a breakdown, and they used to give me hefty tips also. And I used to always have a ready stock of tires and all in my backyard. So as a mechanic, today I am jobless because every petrol bunk across has a tire clinic, and today the vehicles are coming with tubeless tires, so where there's no puncture incidents at all happening. So I'm jobless. Now, while they're talking, my son is also now studying in engineering. The other fellow says, yes, my son is also doing MBA. So I don't see any reason why they will take up this profession or try to work with me. Now, while that was going on, we saw one more person joining out there, and he came out of his car, parked his car there, and came limping. So we just, out of curiosity, asked him, what happened? Did he injure? Did he meet with an accident? He said, oh, well, I just forgot my diabetic chappal, and I've injured my feet. I don't know how long it will take now. So as you know, diabetes, people with diabetes take a long time to heal. Now this struck some kind of a conversation, and it was a eureka moment for these guys. They had a conversation with me as well. Since they know my background, I had to assist them by default, and funded them about 50,000 rupees to go and do something on the idea they shared with me. And 3 months down the line, they came back and they said, here's your 50,000 and here's your 25,000 as a share in profit. Now I was really amazed. I said, hey, what's so special? What did you do? So in that, they informed me that they went, after hearing the story and listening to my conversation too, they went back to the yard where the tires were, and the cobbler took out some of the samples, made chappals out of them, and they went to the Apollo pharmacy and all these pharmacies and had a look at how the diabetic chappals are, and they made a study, and then they white labeled it. They made a design, they white labeled it and let it go into the market, and when they sold it at 200 rupees and the retail outlet sold it at 800 rupees. And then the customer feedback came. They went on improvising it, And then they came with the final version where they had a acupuncture cover on that, and it really had a very funky design which was acceptable to today's audience. And then they came out with their own brand in 3 months' time. And here's the interesting part of it. When they started selling their own brand, they made about 80,000 rupees, which was something that the children at home, when they looked at it and they felt, look, even if I complete my MBA and have a starting salary, I wouldn't be making so much money, but my parents are working on it and they're making about 85,000 rupees. So it's something interesting. They became curious, and the child who was doing his MBA actually opened a retail outlet, and the son who was doing engineering took the business online. And here now they are making about 3 lakh rupees a month as a idea that mushroomed. Now what I would like to point out here is that when you think differently and try to see that you work on the problem statement, the whole idea of innovation automatically comes in playfully. So it is in a playful environment that ideas thrive, and that's what exactly happened here. Understanding was, now if I want to create something as a large ecosystem, how do I do that? How do I see that? How do I de-risk certain aspect? In the journey of entrepreneurship, it's a very lonely journey, because most of the time you got to make the decisions on your own, and nobody appreciates it till they see the impact and the result. So therefore, how do we create an environment where there are chances of people learning in an accelerated way? So that's when I thought that why don't we move into the community entrepreneurship model and see how differently can this be done, where the learning is not only accelerated, but also the de-risking of the various factors, the blind spots of the journey, where there are certain factors which I may be in the learning mode, I may not be good at it right now, but if I move as a community, I can share that and then create a better value, and also it will be a distributed income kind of a model. So therefore, we came with the model of the cluster development model, the livelihood clusters, which we devised. While working on this, again, there was this understanding that are all people entrepreneurs? Can people become entrepreneurs right away? Or is there some kind of a transformational path that is required? So looking into this aspect, any audience or any group or any demography we go to, I discovered that there is no actual way to measure this, but this is just for the sake of understanding. I would like to share that 16% of any population we go to share any idea, straight away becomes a blocker, and they say, look, this is not going to work, just watch and see, I've seen it all. I've seen a lot of people coming and going in this direction, just wait and see, it won't work. So 16% of the population always respond to this, and they are called the people who are the blockers or resistant to an idea. Now 35% of the population always come with this factor saying that they know what you're doing is right, but they won't support it. They won't be coming outrightly coming and saying, yes, I understand, and they will be very slow in response. They are called the hardliners. And another 35% of the population will say, yes, this is a superb idea, and then they just fall in love and they just start following it. So they are the followers who don't need much of pushing to get to an idea implementation. Now, the next part comes about the 12% of the population who are the change agents. Now, they are emotionally triggered to do something different, something that they feel passionate about, because emotionally they feel that there is a hunger for it. And when they get into the action, initially you will see a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement. And as they go into it, you will find that the more and more they do it, there is an internal healing happening, and therefore over a period of time these people move on, but they do a lot of work in terms of bringing the change, and therefore I call them change agents. Now comes the last 2% left out. Now these people, by default, if you ask them why you're doing this, they just say, I don't know. But all that they want to do is to be always in the mode of doing something which is creative, something that makes an impact, And while they're doing it, tremendous amount of learning happens, and they are the force who don't need any kind of fire or spark. They are just all the time in that mode. And if you just ask them and stop by and say, hey, why you're like this? They said, this is just the way I am. This is the only way I know how to be in. Now, these are the 2% people we spot in the community and then work on them. And that's how, taking this idea, we started engaging communities in Karnataka state, and we created about 100 clusters like this, where we bring the community to own the change and the shift with the problem statements that are there locally, and how they don't just sit there and complain or go running after people and say, please change things for us, but they own the change. And through that, we also look at what is their local skill sets and the local resources that they have. With that, how do we combine this and convert their problem statement into an entrepreneurial journey? Now, this is how we, one example I like to give you is where you look at the place where there are a lot of bananas grown. Now, normally people make money through the banana fruit, but after the fruit is taken away, the entire stem and the plant is thrown away as a waste. So what we did was we brought a lot of ideas and researched inputs on how a waste part of the banana plant can be converted into something useful. So we came with diabetic juice, then we came out with yarn, fabric making out of the banana plantain, and then we also came with packaging solutions, and so many such things. And these innovations were brought, and the younger population were given an idea of encouragement into it. And that's how the whole idea of where earlier people were just growing the banana for the fruit, now they've started having so many processing units and so many other things that come along with it, which increases their income and also creates a lot of opportunity of employment in the rural spaces. Now, taking this as an example, we brought in some very transformational change in places like Karkala, where 3,000 artisans came together and created the pottery cluster. Of course, my team members, Anita Rao and Nanda Kishore, have been very instrumental in helping me in this. And under Vision Karnataka Foundation, we have created these 100 clusters just like this, with jute cluster, maize cluster, and so many other tamarind clusters. So everywhere we have understood what the local resources are and converted that into an opportunity. And looking at this, gradually the central government looked at it and said, now you become the technical agency, and therefore we had this benefit of now giving them an extension of 5 crore grant as a part of the livelihood cluster Spurti scheme. And while this is spinning off, then the state government approached us, and they gave us a suggestion that there are 5 lakh youth in the state. Can you convert these 5 lakh youth into entrepreneurs? While we started the journey about 2 years ago on this, there are 6,000 Gram Panchayats in Karnataka, and every Gram Panchayat we worked on enabling the youth in the age group of 18 to 29 to convert into forming joint liability groups. So in each group, there are minimum 4 to 10 people, and they come together and they think of an entrepreneurial idea that can actually add value to the location that they belong to, the village they belong to. And here, with this, the financial assistance from the bank and various other sources was given to them, and that's how we were able to, in 1.5 years, create a large workforce of entrepreneurs, and each Gram Panchayat having 2 such joint liability groups. So I would say categorize them into rural startups. And these startups now are there with 12,000 startups being created legally, with 1,20,000 youth in them, and all of them are working with some of the other ideas at various stages, where they would like to bring a transformational activity within their the geography that they represent in. So what I would like to say here is that looking at one of the problem statements and then saying that, look, I'm searching for the solution by being in the problem, and then not able to find it because I realized at some point of time that I've become part of the problem, right? Because To enable something differently, I need to step out of the problem, look at the problem from outside, and see if I can become bigger than the problem. That means, what is it that I have as my strength? And look at it in a way where you will be able to create something differently. And that's the central idea on which we work. So the thought was, if I look at only the startups and chase after the startups, it's almost like chasing the butterflies. The more you chase the butterflies, they fly away. So can I create a garden instead and say, allow the butterflies to come there? So that's what, this livelihood cluster is all about, where we are creating an ecosystem within the community. And just like how they, the youth, celebrate the festivals during the, let's assume the festival during the Ganesha festival. Where someone comes and says, I'll manage the pendal, someone says, I'll go for the donation collection, and someone says, I'll just look after the entire arrangement, and someone says, I will just ensure that there's the entertainment thing and all, I'll look at that, and then someone looks at the other part of the organizing. So each one takes a responsibility. Now the question is, are they skilled? Are they certified with something where they are coming up with this? It's just a natural behavior. And in the natural behavior, they're picking up a role, a responsibility, and it is in rotation. So the next year, they celebrate the same thing, but they play a different role. But in overall, they are getting an idea. This is exactly what we picked up, and we placed it into this entrepreneurship journey, where people pick it up out of fun, out of love for it, and how they come with the passion. And in that group, we identified those 2% of the population, which I earlier mentioned, which has that ability to drive the whole thing. When that 2% is identified, the 2% works on the 12%, which are the change agent people, and then the remaining ecosystem automatically takes care of itself. The hardliners over a period of time start becoming followers, or they become the change agent themselves. We are looking at the different level of understanding. Can we bring all these clusters together and create interdependence there? And can we see that someone adds value to the other cluster, and in the process, are we creating the cumulative impact of this? I would like to also draw one more inference of what actually inspired the income generation part. When you look at a product like let's take a vegetable like Karela. All of you know bitter gourd. Now, if I just take it to the market, 1 kilo of that will, let's assume that is costing 70,000 rupees. 70 rupees. Now, if I take 70 rupees a kilo and say that I grow it in 10 acres land, the amount is same. If I grow in 100 acres land, it's the same. If I grow it in 1,000 acres also, it's the same. Now, what is it that I can do to increase the income? So here is what we saw, that one person in Bihar, he did a lot of research, and after finding out the demand gap, he came out with this hop shoot vegetable, which is again a part of the family of the bitter gourd, and he actually grew this up on an experimental basis. Can you take a guess of how much would be the produce of 1 kilo? The 1 kg of that bitter gourd, what he produced, is priced at 1,20,000 rupees. And this serves the pharmacology and the nutraceutical demand in Europe. So this is the kind of examples that we've been working on. And at the bottom of it, as I mentioned to you, community-based entrepreneurship and mass entrepreneurship that we have initiated is definitely on the way to break all frontiers in terms of economic growth. And we're looking towards creating a large ecosystem which will be an example for the rest of Asia to imbibe and the country to imbibe. Thank you very much.